the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're needing to excuse Commissioner Hopes tonight. He is home ill. He had a fever most of the day, and we just thanked him for not coming and sharing that. So we appreciate his work, but we'll excuse him today. He asked me to fill in. Our first item of business is approval of our minutes. Commissioner Miller, we have one set here, well, several, but the first one we'll start with is December 20th of 2017. Did you have any changes or corrections in that one?
Make sure that, okay, that works. Looking through it, I didn't have any corrections, did you?
I didn't.
Then I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve.
I'll step down and second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Our next set of minutes was from January 17th.
Commissioner Potter, as well on this set of minutes, I didn't have any corrections that need to be made. I think Glory does a great job at putting all these together, and Seth with proofing it after. So I would go ahead and make a motion to approve.
And I'll go ahead and step down and second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. At this point in time, we're going to take care of a little bit of county business. We have 3 requests, well, not requests, but 2 bids and 1 request for qualifications that we're going to go ahead and open, so that if we have any vendors or other personnel that need to go back to their jobs, we can take care of that. So it is not an item that's listed on our agenda, but would you go ahead and be okay if we move forward with that, Commissioner Miller?
Do I need to do that in a motion?
I don't believe we need a motion on that.
I don't think if you both consent to that. Just for the record, all of these items were, there were public notices that went out into newspapers and on the public notice website indicating that these bids would be opened tonight. As long as you don't award a contract tonight, but simply acknowledge the bidders and those who send in proposals, I think you're fine to go ahead and proceed with opening them.
Mr. Chairman, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Let's go ahead and do those next then, if we could, Seth. I don't have any particular order, so you tell us which ones you're doing and we'll...
Okay, we'll start with the mosquito fogger. Okay, the first one is from Adapco.
And we have to remember, if the meeting takes too long, the sheriff has a gun.
Take me first, Chief.
See payment terms. See if they want the payment to go to. And I don't see a price for the fogger itself.
Maybe it's free.
Unless it's attached to that. You want to go through that?
Well, we can acknowledge those. If it's just not there, we'll acknowledge it and have it reviewed. But
Second set. Okay, 13,395.
okay.
send it in 2 different packets. Okay. No. This is still silver. And the second is from Target Specialty Products. And its total is $15,725.08.
Just the 2 of them then.
Correct.
Okay. We probably ought to take a motion acknowledging those and turning them over for review.
Commissioner, I move that we acknowledge those bids and turn them over to Daniel Campbell, the supervisor, for the review.
Christian, do we need to bring those back for ratification then, or?
That would be my recommendation, is put it back on the next agenda
Okay, just for that
for
purpose.
awarding it. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'll provide a substitute motion
Okay,
that we turn them over to Daniel Campbell for review and that he brings them back for our recommendation, or for his, he bring back a recommendation for our awarding.
I'll step down and second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. We doing plows next then?
Yep, we'll do plows next. The first one is from Kenworth Sales Company. It's gonna give you all your stuff. I don't know if I need anything else besides that. So the bid is $195,837.09.
It's 195,837.
Yep, and 9 cents. The next is from Legacy Equipment. And they have provided 2 different versions. One is $184,000 even. And the other is $209,015. Yeah. Okay, semi-service.
Who was that one?
Semi-service.
So, SEMI.
Todd, who are you whistling at? Oh, buddy.
Is that 82.5? Yeah, it gives me a total.
State contract. can't be for the same, there's no way. If it is, it blows my mind.
It's gonna be just for the truck and then this other one, but there's no total on it. So on semi-service, they've got 82,505 and 56 cents, which appears to be just
Just the truck.
the truck. And then there's several pages of additional items, but there's no total for the rest of it, so. Unless you
And
want
that's
me
the
to-
last one?
No.
No.
We're gonna have to add that all up. And then there's one from Holland Equipment.
And that's gonna be just the body. The body and the frame.
And this one had, from Holland Equipment, it's 61,775, but that is also just
Sound body, plow.
the body and the plow, and then it's got several pages of additional add-ons. Those are the 4 that we've received.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we acknowledge the bids as delivered by Seth, and that we allow Daniel Campbell to review them more thoroughly and provide us with a recommendation at a later date.
I'll step down and second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Daniel.
So the 15 and 16.
Was there one more set of bids?
Yeah, there is.
And then there are 2 for the Economic Development and Tourism Consultant proposal.
The scan is insane.
Just put it in the The first is from the Giuliano Group. And it is for $45,000. And the next is from the Southeast Utah Association of Local Governments. And it is for $55,644.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we acknowledge those bids and that we take them upon ourselves as a commission to review more thoroughly and bring back for a possible award.
I'll step down and second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. That's all of them, Seth, then?
Correct.
Thank you. Our next item then will be a presentation of services offered by the Southeastern Utah Association of Local Governments. We'll turn the time to Jerry.
I'm actually the entire team that's here anyway.
I was going to say, I'm not sure we would fit all your employees.
And then, and then if you'll go ahead and introduce everybody for the record, Jerry, that would be great, please.
I'm Jerry Gamber. I'm the executive director. We have Julie Rogier. She is the community services program manager. We have Jade Powell. He is the community development block grant. And then we have Michael Bryant. He is our planner, and he works on our transportation planning as well. So we were asked to come here. It's a short presentation. We could go on for a while, but mainly we are Southeastern Utah Association of Local Governments. We're referred to as the AOG. A lot of people, after they hear that, say words like, what's an AOG? Well, we represent a region. We're involved with Carbon, Emery, Grand, and San Juan. My role is as the executive director, I'm paid from EDA funds, and so economic development's my biggest role outside of running the agency and overseeing the programs and stuff like that. So I don't want to take up too much time. We're trying to keep this 10 minutes. I do have to write a comprehensive economic development strategy annually for these funds, and so I need to work closely with economic development in all 4 counties to get this, so we have a true regional focus. And now I'll let everyone else do their little bit.
So I do the community development block grant. We just, the application deadline was just January 31st. We had a few applications come in. We'll be reviewing those this week and then awarding those. So that's kind of the status update on the community development block grant. Those funds are used for infrastructure, for housing projects, and the main function for those funds is that it has to benefit at least 51% of low to moderate income individuals. So if you're doing a sewer line down a neighborhood, everyone that participates in that sewer line has to be at least 51% low to moderate income. Same thing with the community. If you're doing a community-wide project, everything has to be low to moderate income based. In addition to the community development block grant, I also run the volunteer income tax assistance program. That program it's a free program. It provides free federal and state tax filing for individuals that make less than $55,000 a year. And so it's targeted towards low to moderate income individuals and families and elderly. And the main purpose of it is just to help them with their finances, help them file taxes, and provide them with a free way to do that so they don't have to spend any more money since they are low to moderate income. With that, we're big partners. That's in all 4 counties as well. The community development block grant is in all 4 counties. We have sites. We have 2 here in Carbon County. We have 1 in Emery County. We have 1 in Grand County and 2 down in San Juan County that we all run. The 2 here in Carbon County, we're partnered with Utah State University Eastern with the accounting professor, and he has all his college students certified to do people's taxes, and that's part of his class. And then we do the senior center where we specifically do seniors taxes there. And so those are the 2 programs that I run. I really enjoy it. I enjoy working with the people, especially I love the serving the low to moderate income individuals.
I think that commissioners are aware of the programs that I run, but for the audience, I'll elaborate a little bit. My name is Michael Bryant. I am the CIB planner for our region, and so I work with the CIB program, which is the Community Impact Board. They provide grants and loans to cities and towns and counties and service districts throughout the state that have been impacted by mineral lease extraction. And so I am the local liaison for that. As part of that funding, I'm also a regional planner for the area that I can assist local entities with their planning needs, whether it's transportation planning, whether it's affordable housing planning, land use planning, and we're even have other plannings that we can help out with as well. So those are the primary programs that I do. Like I said, some of the other programs are rolled into that as far as transportation planning and working to improve transit for specialized needs within the region. Another one of the programs that I've been recently working with is our Business and Technical Assistance Center, or the BTAC, and that is a different entity, but it's housed in our same building. And so that process is we help individuals or businesses to have a place to rent, and we're recently going through a process to reinvigorate that process so that it's more engaging and available for other types of businesses, as well as the business needs of a more 21st century climate of companies and businesses. So those are my primary functions at the AOG.
I'm Julie Rozier, and I'm the Community Services Program Manager. And so I'm over we have a food bank in Carbon County, Emery County, and Grand County. And part of our CSBG funding also goes, because we don't have a food bank in San Juan, about 20,000 of that goes to the seniors, to the Meals on Wheels program. I'm also over the HEAT program, so that helps individuals with their heating bills, their utility assistance, that's income qualified. And that will continue to run. It runs from November 1st until towards the end of April. So we're still doing that right now, taking appointments. I'm over also TANF Rapid Rehousing, and we applied for Rapid Rehousing funds 3 years ago, and we were awarded $280,000. Those funds will run out at the end of March. And we just recently applied for another grant to continue that service to help individuals to prevent homelessness, also to get them housed, pay deposits, utilities, and you have to have a child to receive that assistance. So we're really hoping that in the next couple of weeks we get some good news there. We also have a grant I'm over, it's called Unified Funding. One of our programs that we recognize, like with TANF, that you have to have minor children. It didn't really address the homeless individuals that we have in our communities that don't have children, that don't have other means. So we received a grant to implement Unified Funding, and that helps individuals who are truly homeless. That means not on a couch, not in a car, it's truly like on a tent, okay? A shelter, or just hopping from here to situation. We also do that in the 4 counties, and we just did a point-in-time count. That's to kind of calculate how many homeless individuals we can find at 5 in the morning. We did have some officers help us with that, and we were able to find 6 individuals, which was really good to be able to hear their story, what some of the things that we can help with them and what they need to continue. I'm also over Circles. Circles is what I'm the coordinator for Circles. We are piloting that right now in Carbon County. Some of you may have heard of that, but Circles is an initiative to help families get out of poverty, as Carbon County has the 2nd highest rate of intergenerational poverty in the state. So that's also something we're working on, and we have a lot of good things hopefully down the pipeline. So thank you.
Thank you.
We also have 2 other programs. We have weatherization that goes into homes that can help replace furnaces, and we do windows and other things in there, but it's to help low-income families with their homes. We do a group work camp where that's on the Navajo Nation, and that's with several entities. One is a religious affiliation that goes in and helps with that. We also have, with our EDA funds, a revolving loan fund, and right now we can loan small business who can show that they're going to create jobs with this funding, about $150,000. And so those are some of the other programs that we have. We also have an aging program. We funnel a lot of the state and federal money through the counties for that program, but we also manage Emery County's aging program. We're implementing a new dementia education where you can put on goggles and see what it feels like to have dementia, and we'll be implementing that program, and we have a veterans program through the aging program as well. And so those are our programs. We really want to get the message out where we can offer a lot of technical assistance. We want to help. One thing we're identifying is maybe grant writers are minimal in the 4 counties, so we really want to help offer that service as well. And so please reach out to us if we're not identifying something right now. Maybe there's something we're missing, but we're happy to try to help and get that implemented somehow into the counties. And we're also hoping maybe our board, we have on our board, our governing board consists of a commissioner and a mayor from each county. Jake actually sits on our board. I should say Commissioner Miller. But anyway, we just want to say we truly appreciate and love who we serve, and we sometimes have lost focus of that, but we really care about what happens in our communities, and we want to participate a lot more. So thank you so much for this opportunity. We really appreciate it.
Jerry, one quick question,
Sure.
Jerry, because the counties do contribute on an annual basis
Yes.
to the operations of the AOGs.
Yes.
But most of the monies that you've described tonight come from federal or state or both?
Both.
Both. Is there a
Yes.
percentage that you know which comes from federal? which
Most
comes
of
from
them are
state?
federal. There's a few state, there's little pots of money with our community service programs. There's a program called EFN, it's Emergency Fund Network, and then QFAF. It actually originated for every food item you would donate, there was 12 cents per pound that we could earn. They've taken that away, and they've gone off a history of the last 4 years, so they've given us a pot of money of about $13,000. And then there's some state money with aging as well, so.
And I bring that up just simply because that's the way all AOGs are run throughout the state. They really were organized, I can't remember what year it was now, but as a place to receive basically those federal monies to help with a lot of the social and socialization programs that were made available through the federal government.
Yeah, because those pots of money, if we had to dilute that through all the counties and cities, it would be almost impossible to run a program. So that is truly why we were created.
Cuts down on the overhead, the
Yeah.
administrative overhead.
Exactly. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate your presentation. It's good to have that information out there. Our next item is a consideration and possible approval of a recommendation from the Planning Commission on an amendment to the Annie subdivision. Mark Morley and Todd Thorne.
So the Planning Commission reviewed the amendment for a subdivision for Mark Morley. It's out in Spring Glen. He's gathered all the signatures for all the property owners affected by the amendment, and none of them have any concerns. He's just adding 2 lots and just changing boundary of 1. So it's just brought before you to review, and if you have any questions.
The only question I had, Todd, was on the one signature page from the county was talking about the need for road encroachment permits.
So when those individuals who buy those lots, when they begin construction, they'll have to get with the road department and get a road encroachment and put a culvert there where the driveway is going to meet the road, make sure that it's sized properly and that there's no blockage of the drainage. So that's the only thing they'll need to do when they construct those homes on those lots.
So specific to the lot
Yes.
involved in that process. Then. Very
Yep.
good.
Yep. This is kind of an example of the cut and dry business that in the future can all be taken care of at the Planning
Yep.
Commission. So anyway, Commissioner Potter, if you don't have any other questions, I'm
I don't.
ready to make a motion to approve.
I'll step down and second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Our next item is a public hearing for input regarding the mental health and substance use disorder treatment needs in Carbon County. And before we start that public hearing, we'll turn some time over to Karen and any of your staff, it looks like, that are here with you that would like to take some time to introduce this, and then we'll go into a public hearing.
Thank you. Seth, did you get the PowerPoint?
Yep.
Well, I'm Karen Dolan. I'm the director of Four Corners. we're here today because Utah state law and Medicaid require the counties to hold a public hearing yearly to get feedback from the public and just learn how we're doing and get any input we might need for our grant writing for the next year. So as you know, Four Corners is a tri-county agency, Carbon, Emory, and Grand. We primarily help people get stabilized, get their lives back together. We're cost avoidant because if you keep people stable, they don't need more costly services like the jail or psychiatric hospitalization. I have a little slideshow, and then this is Kara Cunningham. She's my clinic director in Carbon County. She manages our biggest clinic. We have 2 drug courts in Carbon County that we serve. We also have a clubhouse for people with serious and persistent mental illness. And we have a lot of housing in 2 counties, hopefully 3. We're moving toward housing in Emory soon. So here's our slideshow. Go ahead, Seth. So the Tri-County area, Carbon, Emory, and Grand, has about 41,000 residents. 4% of human beings in general during their lifetime will suffer from mental illness, a serious mental illness. So that's schizophrenia or bipolar illness or major depression. 2 in 10 will just develop an episode of mental health problems during any 1 year. So that could be anxiety, it could be depression after losing loved ones, it could just be an episode of just difficult depression. 10% of us, so 1 in 10 human beings, develop addiction problems, whether it's alcohol or drugs or other things, gambling or pornography. So out of our 41,000 residents, about 14,000 will suffer with either mental health problems or addiction problems in any 1 year. Years ago, go ahead and click it again, before 1963, people with substance abuse problems and mental health problems were institutionalized in mental health or mental asylums throughout our country. This is a picture of Utah State Hospital from probably the, I don't know, late 1800s, early 1900s, perhaps. So go ahead and click it. These are all pictures from the archives of the Utah State Hospital. Before 1950, we really didn't have psychiatric medicines, and so people were locked up in cages, they were kept in straitjackets, they were chained to beds, they were locked in rooms. In the 50s, we started developing psychiatric medicines that were pretty difficult, but actually changed lives. So in 1963, President Kennedy, the last act he signed before he was assassinated was the Community Mental Health Act. And his vision was to close down these insane asylums, is what they were called, and develop community resources so people could return home to their communities and live near their parents and in their towns. So state hospitals started closing throughout the country and community mental health centers opened up. The sad thing is not a lot of funding, not enough funding followed, and that's why we have a whole lot of mentally ill people that are homeless on our streets in our big cities and even here, and people with substance use disorder as well. So how does it work? By state law, the counties are required to be the substance abuse and mental health authority. So in 1972, Carbon, Emory, Grand, and San Juan got together and formed an interlocal agreement and created Four Corners Community Behavioral Health to provide comprehensive substance abuse and mental health services for the safety net. So for the safety net population and the residents. Go ahead, Seth. Maybe. So in 1986, San Juan County broke off. We still are called Four Corners. We're still looking for a new name. If anybody has ideas, we're open. Let's go ahead and click it again. And again. We operate on an interlocal agreement. I was having difficulty finding my latest slideshow, so I don't know if these are the latest numbers. Jeannie can probably tell us, but basically it's a combination of population and taxable valuation, property valuation, and the 3 counties each year this is assessed and they put in together to form the interlocal agreement. Go ahead. The benefits of an interlocal agreement, we have reduced administrative overhead. We have one administration for all 3 counties. We have shared resources, so we write one grant for all 3 counties. We have housing. Our clients can go back and forth between counties. If they, are tired of living in Moab, they can come and live in Price for a while, and vice versa. We have state hospital beds. We have 2 state hospital beds that we kind of really manage carefully throughout the 3 counties. Statewide, these are the interlocal agreements. There are 13 behavioral health catchment areas throughout the state. Southwest is where I worked before, and we had 5 counties. So we have 3. I think Central has the most. They have 6 counties, and they have a lot of space, a lot of distance they travel. Go ahead, Seth. So this is a little infographic. Throughout the state, there are 3,700 employees in the public behavioral health system. We are part of public safety because, as you know, mental health problems and substance use disorders can cause a lot of social problems and pose a threat to public safety. So we work really hard to stabilize people, help them become their best self, and become productive members of society and taxpayers. So a little bit of county funding, but actually it's quite a bit of county funding, which is really nice, and we're very grateful, brings down a lot of state funding and a lot of federal funding. So this money is really multiplied to bring local money here for services, for stabilization and care for our residents. This is just another way to say that the money multiplies. So in 1997, Medicaid was capitated. So when you go to the doctor, they bill for every service they provide you, and Medicaid used to be that way, and there was kind of an incentive for hospitals to hospitalize a lot of people often, and Medicaid was skyrocketing really quickly. So in 1997, the behavioral health system switched to this capitated plan where they said, we will give you a lump of money and you manage everything within that lump. So psychiatric hospitalizations, outpatient care, medications. So there's an incentive to keep people stable. So it's been really great to be able to do that. It was a little scary initially to do that, but we've been able to use services to stabilize people and reduce costs and keep people out of the hospital. With these cost savings, we've been able to build housing, we've been able to hire more staff, and serve indigent county residents who don't have Medicaid or don't have any insurance. We have some pretty scary statistics in Carbon, Emery, and Grand County. Go ahead and click it again. 24 people die each month of opioid overdose deaths. Utah's 5th in the nation for overdose deaths. They have outpaced all other types of deaths, including firearms falls or car crashes. So I heard the statistic that in the Vietnam War, there were about 55,000 people that died during the Vietnam War. We have more people dying every single year in our country than died in the Vietnam War cumulatively of opioid overdose deaths, which is just unbelievable. Southeast Utah has significantly higher prescription opioid death rate compared to the rest of Utah. So the state of Utah has 18.5. I think that's gone up to about 20.5 per 100,000. Carbon is around 50. So it's per 100,000, so per capita, but we have a really, really high rate. Utah has one of the highest rates of suicide in the country. Carbon is the highest suicide death rate per 100,000. Grand is 2nd, Emery 7th. So we definitely have some work to do. The Robert Wood Johnson ratings in health ratings rated our 3 counties among lowest in the state. So this is all of those things. And so we definitely have some work to do. Four Corners is funded by about 25 different contracts and grants. These are our contracts. Some are as small as $1,000. Some are as much as $2 million. So it really varies. Our services decrease social problems and costs. We increase public safety, and we help people stay stable. This is our continuum of services that we have throughout the Tri-County area. We have a clinic in each county. and a therapist that goes to Green River. So we have our full services in all 3 counties. We have 104 employees. These are some of them. We have several prescribers. Our medical director lives in Park City, and half the time he comes over the TV, and the other half of the time he comes in person. We have a lot of prevention services, and I know a lot of you are part of our prevention services because we can't keep pulling people out of the river. Eventually, we need to put a fence up upstream. So these are some of our prevention efforts. The Parents Empowered effort that you see, that's Four Corners. We really tried to beef up our prevention efforts, and we continue to do so. And we have a lot of community support. Our suicide prevention efforts, we have an amazing new grant. Most people that complete suicide see their doctor within a few weeks of completing suicide. But so we hired a care manager that's training doctors and ER staff and ICU staff to ask people the question. Ask them if they're suicidal. And if they are, they get a warm handoff to this care manager who then will connect them to services, whether they're a private therapist or a public, person or indigent. We're really hoping to decrease our suicide rates in our area. We have a lot of audits. We're used to audits. We have great results from all of our many audits. And so that's our presentation. And I'd like to now open it up to public input. Or you could open it up to public
Yeah, we'll need to open up to an official
Yeah.
public hearing, Karen.
So I'm happy to answer questions if there are questions.
Commissioner Potter, do you have any? No, I'd just like to recognize that Four Corners has been here in our community for a very long time. And Karen, how long have you been the director?
Maybe 4 years.
About 4 years now.
Yeah.
And the director has a review every year by the whole board. Well, and then every 3 years, an evaluation of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something that is reviewed by the board frequently.
Yep.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and open this public hearing at 5:15. If there's anyone that would like to speak to the issues proposed, and again, we're talking about those mental health and substance use disorders, particularly pertaining with our Medicaid, I believe it is.
Primarily funded through Medicaid.
Primarily funded through Medicaid, but we'd be happy to take all your comments. If you'll please state your name as you come forward, though.
My name is Angie Trescott, and I've been going to Four Corners since 2000. To the New Heights Clubhouse, and I go in there and it just makes me feel good because they've helped me learn how to manage my money. They help me budget my money to know how much money I have. They help me find jobs. We have a peer support group that we do at the clubhouse that helps us with our mental problems. They have jobs that we do. I've worked for Four Corners. I detailed cars. I've cleaned the bathrooms. It's been a really blessing for me. It's helped me a lot too. I have a learning disability, so it's been a real blessing to have a place to go where I know I'm needed and where I feel safe. So it's been a really good place for me. It's helped me through a lot of stuff. So
Thank you very much. Appreciate those comments.
Hi, my name is Macy Muncie. I'm a client at Four Corners recently. I've been a client there since 2017. I have nothing but good input from them. They've helped me, find coping skills with how to deal with my addictions, how to deal with the stress that puts you under. There's a lot that comes with being in recovery and being an addict. There really is. And it goes along with, dealing with it at work. Every single day is a battle pretty much, and they help. They really do. They give you the positive input that you need, and the things that they teach you there That's the things that I'm going to use every single day for the rest of my life to continue my recovery. You know, there's nothing better than that, and that's all I've got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Christian Zeely. I'm a client down at Four Corners, and I'm also a drug court participant. The things I've learned down there, like Macy was saying, will be tools I can use throughout the rest of my life. The counselors down there really take a concern to you as an individual. They address you as an individual rather than just somebody in recovery. They take care of us to seek out and see if we really need help. Like if we're just showing up for groups and they can see we're having a bad time, they're going to take the time to pull us aside and ask us what's going on. The treatment down there is over like the last 10 years has probably improved quite a bit. All the counselors down there, they care about us as individuals. The drug court program has helped me a lot in this community. That's helped me to learn tools to be able to live and function as a member of society rather than just be somebody with a disability or a recovering addict, you know. So I think that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Trent Mott, and I am also a participant in the Carbon County Drug Court and a client at Four Corners. I've been battling drug addiction for 10 years, and it's finally nice to go somewhere where I can get the help and the treatment that I need to understand and realize what my problem is and why I do the things that I do. Four Corners have they got me in Operation Recovery, and it's changing my life for the better. The things that are happening to me now I haven't had in like I said for 10 years, and everything. They care about their patients, and everything's just going. I get hats off to the treatment center down there and their employees. They've helped me tremendously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Kathlena Lawson, and I have been here quite some time. I wasn't born here, but I love the place. And I have been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress syndrome and bipolar manic depressant. I have suffered with this for a long time in my life, and mental health has been such a wonderful thing in my life. They have helped me learn ways to cope with my illness, and that I can find support from different places in my community and within my family and friends. And I have learned so much from them as to what causes these illnesses, and that sometimes these illnesses are actually hereditary. I have children that suffer from the same problems, and grandchildren, and some of them have been suicidal, and so I think mental health has been the best thing that's ever happened to the community. I go to the clubhouse, and I have association with other people. They teach the people how to cope with society, how to clean, how to cook, how to manage money. There's just all kinds of things that they do for them. I think it's been the most awesome place that you could go to. We have a peer group that helps us. We sit and we talk about things in order to be able to cope with our illnesses. We each have different problems, different illnesses. We're able to share these things and open up to each other and help each other. And with the counseling that we get is just wonderful. It sometimes feels more like we have a family within this community that way. And they help us where we can get out there and work in this community and live in this community and find peace in our life. and I think it is the greatest thing that's ever happened. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments?
I'm Joanne Wilson. I'm a landlord, and this is unsolicited and spontaneous, but I have been really impressed with Four Corners. I own a trailer park in town, and easily 50 to 75% of my people, my renters, are retired or have disabilities of some sort, very low income. And my experience with Karen and Jeannie Wilson has been nothing but professionalism, and also a young man by the name of Dane, but I don't know his last name. Anyway, I've been extremely impressed with their level of care and concern and their kept promises, and love working with them. And in fact, I'm going to kind of create the whole park into kind of a desirable community for disabled and for retired people that are low income. And I now have listened to these other people that have contracts. I'm thinking about putting solar energy on the trailer, so it will be less, costly for them to pay their utility bills. Anyway, just wanted to give them a plug because they well deserve it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing any other one coming forward. I do know that we had one written submitted comment. I don't know if you want to go over that for a minute, or.
I don't know that that was actually a comment meant to be submitted for the public hearing. It was just some questions and inquiries. She actually responded back to my response. Anyway, there was a citizen who wanted to know if we put out for bid the county contract on behavioral health, and I explained to her the process of, for an entity to take on some of that. Basically, the PowerPoint presentation that Karen presented showing the county match and the multiplier of what that does for a state funding mechanism as well as a federal funding mechanism. And, we are definitely welcoming any treatment centers, any individuals who want to participate and assist and help with behavioral health in our community. Obviously, we have more need than we have resources to support here in our area, and so we're not closing out our options to anybody here in the community, but would welcome support and assistance with open arms. We have had other therapists and different groups in the area in the past. Some have come and gone, and for whatever reason, their business model just didn't work with our demographics. And so we'd like to express appreciation to Four Corners for their longevity and their consistency, them being a stable provider, as we've heard from many of the comments already given. Did I wrap up kind of the conversation?
Sounds good. We'll go ahead and close this public hearing then at 5:27, and thank you for your comments, and thank you for the presentation.
So I have a signature page. It has Casey's name on it. So I don't know if you can sign it.
We probably need to let him sign. Can we have him do that and get it back to you? Okay.
Very good.
Thank you. Our next item then is a review and possible approval of termination of Partnership for Success contract with the State of Department of Human Services. And Karen, you're up for that one too, so tell us what's going on with this one.
So this is just moving from one contract they're just trying to reduce the amount of separate contracts they have, and they're putting this into our general fund, or a general contract. This is basically training for prevention, so it's Y-Tribe training and various trainings. I think this was a 5-year contract. It's just kind of moving the allocation into our general allocation.
So terminate one contract, start this new one then.
Yes.
I also believe that this has been one that's been coming through my email as far as a DocuSign document.
Yes.
And we have,
Yep.
held off signing that till we had it on the commission agenda. Where Commissioner Hopes is the chair, we probably need to redirect that to him if they're going to do electronic. Or-
Sure. I think they need a physical signature also.
Okay,
I don't know why, but I can leave this and he can sign this as well.
and that would be fine. Have a
All right.
motion?
I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve this new contract, which in effect replaces the old contract.
I'll step down and second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Motion
you.
passes. Thank you, Karen. Next item is review and possible approval of Roger Brooks International Agreement to perform a community assessment. And Commissioner Meller, I'll take this one if that's okay. Through our tourism department and through the TRT funds and restaurant funds, we have an opportunity to participate with matching funds from the state of Utah in a community assessment. And this is an opportunity to have an outside firm, especially while we're looking at reorganizing our economic development and tourism offices, to come in and look at our communities at large. Not only do they shop us and do a presentation, but there'll be a meeting that'll be held for all the community to be announced in the future. And it'll give us an opportunity to say, hey, this is what we have that's very good in our community as far as tourism and economic development, because as stated by this particular group, let's face it, anybody that comes to the community for the first time perhaps is coming as a tourist, and they're deciding, what their view of the area is. So anyway, this would allow us to move forward and to get the matching funds from the state of Utah, and then to have that community input and meeting in the future. So I think it'd be very good for us as a county. It's been done in several other counties throughout the state because of those matching funds, and it just is a really great opportunity to have that kind of a service.
Very good, Commissioner. Now, anywhere in this agreement, it does talk about the costs and amount?
It does. There is a $25,000 cost to this, of which half of that is paid through the state of Utah.
And then just a deposit of $7,000, right?
Correct, once it's signed.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve.
And I'll go ahead and step down and second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next one is review and possible approval of a contract with a special prosecutor pursuant to VAWA grant.
Commissioners, this was roughly the same agreement we had with Mr. Bryan. The grant funding from VAWA came through, only partially funded. We had requested 60,000+. They funded 42.7. So this is a part-time contract that would fill some of the needs we have there. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have on that.
Is this still the one that the match is coming through your office then, through your work too, Jeremy? Or?
Yes. So all of the match funding will be included in my salary and the work that I do, because I will be supervising this person and managing the grant. And so pretty much 100% of the money will be going to that person to provide the services to the county.
Will this go out for bid or for application for the individual, or how will that be selected?
We have already made arrangements for the person. I think there's probably only one person available to do that, given the timing and the amount of hours available to do the work, and that will be Ms. Katipas, who's also doing part-time work for Price City right now.
Very good. Okay. Any other questions, Commissioner?
Yeah, appreciate the process you've gone through to continue to find these funds to help out with your office that is already overburdened, and I regret, along with you, that we weren't awarded more, but I think this is a great place for us to be and getting the help and support we can with this money.
Yeah,
so
it'll certainly help. Yes, thanks.
Go ahead and approve the contract let's see, I apologize. I'll approve the contract with the special prosecutor pursuant to the VAWA grant.
And I'll step down and second that. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks,
Thanks,
you.
Commissioners.
Our next item is review and possible approval of a BLM modification of contract for noxious weed control. And I don't know who is taking
I think
that.
we jumped over one. Number 8.
Excuse me, I did. So let me back up. A review and possible approval of contract for certified public accounting firm to provide auditing services to Carbon County.
Do you want to go over the process we went through, Commissioner Potter? Or?
Sure, I can do that. We did put out a request for proposals and also for qualifications, and we had, as announced in a previous meeting, we had 2 firms that applied for that. One was Smunrich and Marsing, and the other one was with, sorry, I got to get their name here.
It was not the easiest name to come off the top.
Waldrop and I can't remember. Tusher Waldrop out of Salt Lake City. So this particular audit is required by the state every year. It is a sampling audit of the county's functions, their cash controls, their purchasing, and so forth, and it is required to be done and then be filed timely each and every year. The prices that came back on these 2 firms, one was the one firm out of Salt Lake, the Tusher firm was $55,000. Yeah, that's correct. And the second one with Smunrich and Marsing was at $39,000 and a little bit more. So there's a $10,000 difference in what was being offered in the services for the same services. So that process we went through of reviewing, making sure peer letters were attached, also making sure that the final product would be very according to the state law. And so we did review those and have had a discussion. Felt like we should make a decision based on what this specific audit is caused by state law to be performed and how it should look. And so that's kind of the process we went through in reviewing both of them. Both of them are qualified firms. The only difference is in the price of that $10,000 difference. And so at that point in time, it came to here to bring it back for a decision, and that's where we are today, Commissioner.
Correct. And we took into respect a lot of the comments given by the public over this last budgeting season. We took into respect the appropriateness that it might have in perhaps just having another firm give it a look. And we weighed that against the additional cost to the county and being proper stewards of taxpayer dollars. And as an outcome, we couldn't actually find any justifiable reason to not choose Smunrich and Marsing. And so going forward, I'll make the motion that we continue with Smunrich and Marsing as our auditing firm for the county.
One other comment that I would make in regards to that is that to do a general ledger audit of the county books would be over $100,000. And so this audit would still be required by the state, but the other audit would be in addition to that. So with that...
So to choose another firm would be the 50 whatever plus the 100 plus all the incidentals that they'd incur, then travel and everything else. And it just isn't feasible economically for the lack of value add we'd get through the process.
And this is for this specific state required audit. And so I'll step down and second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Looks like based on schedules that we're giving, that audit should be able to be done in April, May, June, and should be finished up by then. Next item that I had jumped to previous was a review and possible approval of the BLM modification of contract for noxious weed control. And I don't know, I don't see anybody here, Daniel or BLM. I'm from the BLM. Okay, well thank you.
Yeah, we've got Jake here. Jacob.
So my name is Jake Palma. I'm the Planning Environmental Coordinator for the Price Field Office for the BLM. I wasn't sent here for this, and I don't know much about the contract for the weeds. But I will say that BLM has an obligation to address invasive and noxious weeds and species throughout all lands managed by the BLM. And I know we have an agreement in place with several counties to tackle that challenge. And I think this is a modification of a contract with Carbon County to move from, maybe just spraying along rights of way that the county may have, to extending that out to more of treating areas outside of those rights of way as well on BLM administered lands. And so, it's a great partnership that we have with the county, and hopefully this modification will help extend that partnership to treat areas that need additional help as we try to address the weed challenge that, is.
Now through this agreement, there's some cost absorption by the BLM where the county performs a lot of the work. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so the modification of, instead of the county just doing along the right-of-ways, there may be a field of noxious weeds that, because of that field, it's spreading everywhere else, that we might go out and, participate in that a little bit more. In fact, we actually have Chris that walked in. So, anyway.
We'll give him a minute, but thank you for filling in for that.
Yep. Thank
Chris, do you want to address anything there, please?
Yeah, this is just the annual amended contract that we've had with the BLM to go on. It's dressed for BLM properties. So if it goes beyond just road right-of-ways, because the county, if it's a county road, we're responsible for the right-of-way anyway. So this will be for noxious and invasive weeds off the right-of-ways, from my understanding. And so if we find a patch, and there's several patches that we have identified that we go to every year and try to spray those areas. So this is just an amendment to that. I'm just asking you to sign it, and we can send it back to them, and they reimburse us some money back.
Very good.
So it looks like it increases the reimbursement amount by $7,000, right? Or the total contract amount from $40,000 to $47,000, is that? Am I reading this right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the original agreement was. Since I've been here, they've reimbursed us up to $10,000. This year, they've backed it down because of budget restraints and whatnot. So they're only giving us $7,000 for this coming year.
Why does it? What's the deal with it saying new total obligated amount for this award $47,000?
Oh, that's probably, that $47,000 is probably the money that they have reimbursed us since the contract had begun.
Okay. So we're really going from 10,000 to 7,000,
right?
With this particular modification, then,
right?
Is the way I read that.
Yeah.
So, Chris, I remember last year we had actually asked if there was any implementation that you could track as far as what it costs us to do this spray work. And I don't know if you've been able to put anything together on that.
Yeah, we tracked what we sprayed. I think we sprayed a total amount of about 12,000 this year, or for last year. And I understand that we might only get 7,000 back from that as well. So.
Okay, that's good information to have.
Yeah.
Commissioner, do you have any other questions?
Any other questions on that one?
Well, we still want to be good stewards of our county and coordinate with the BLM and our other agency partners. I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve this and that we continue to track our expenses and what our reimbursement amounts are to help us with future decisions.
I'll step down and second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next item is consideration and possible approval of a request to extend payment period for delinquent property taxes, Tiny Towns. I don't know if they're here or not to speak to this. Julie or Kay, do you want to come forward and speak to this one then?
So they had called and requested that they wanted to defer the tax sale on their property till next year. I don't think we should do it. They acquired the property in 2016 from a Mr. Dieter, and he was supposed to pay the back taxes, which he didn't do. But they have not paid anything in 16 or 17. So I feel we should go ahead with the tax sale on that parcel.
There was a second property with this also, wasn't there?
Well, the other one doesn't go for tax sale yet.
Right.
It only had 1 year delinquent, but he hasn't paid on it either.
And I guess the thing that I didn't understand, which isn't, your office's problem, is if they had title work done or any type of a closing or a borrowing situation, those past taxes would have had to have been cleared up. So it could have been a private sale, I recognize, but not what I would recommend in doing to make sure that there aren't any liens or other things that he inherited.
And that's what I'm thinking too. There may be other liens because assuming, that they didn't pay the rest of them, I don't think they had a title insurance.
Okay.
Well, and there hasn't been an intent.
And it's not a primary residence.
It's not a primary residence.
Well, and I'd also just point out that where they haven't done the last couple of years, there hasn't been an intent to make progress there.
Right.
Anyway. I'll go ahead and make the motion to not approve the request.
And I will step down and second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Next item is consideration and possible approval of request to extend the payment period for delinquent property tax with Melody Estates. Ms. Wilson.
Well, it's, I paid $30,000 yesterday, and it's $40,000 that's due. And so I would like to work with the county to pay the other $10,000, or if you wanted to, you could waive it and let me use that on my solar ID, my solar panels on my trailers.
Don't know that we can waive that, but tell us, why is the reason that it's not been paid? And this is a 5-year history on it.
Yeah, it's just, I really do work with the poor of the county, and it really is half charity, half business. And I was in a pretty terrible, serious car accident 2.5 years ago, and it kind of affected my ability to keep it all filled up as far as tenants go. So it affected my income.
But putting it off for 5 years,
Yeah.
and it's not the first time that pattern's been there. Why do you wait for that 5 years? Because that's a decrease in...
Just money, just basically money, having the extra capital to pay it.
So how would you propose paying that off?
I will work with the treasurer or the assessor and just try to work out a win-win as best we can.
Okay, you want to comment on this one? Thank you.
Thank you.
So, like I said, it's been a pattern for the last 3 tax sales that she has not paid them on time. I believe in 2013, we actually had the title search done for an additional $350. It wasn't actually her check that paid him yesterday, it was another person's check. I just, like I said, Julie has some facts from the attachments of the trailers and how many are rented. And
there are 50 spaces located in Melody Estates. 8 of them are vacant. 11 of them are owned by different owners, with the remainder under the name of Melody Estates. Unfortunately, we have a ton of paperwork that proves that we've had the same history in our office with the payment on the personal property mobile homes. After a year, state law requires us to attach it to the real property. So then we attach it to the real property in Kay's office. And,
so that's part of the increase
That's why
in
the
that
increase,
in
yeah.
that taxation, not just simply because of valuation, but because we're combining the personal
property and the
with the real property at that point in time. That's what I thought, looking at the information that I was given.
And then some of the years, she has paid on, like, I think 14, there was a payment. The rest of the years, there has been no payment. In 17, there was a payment by one of the trailers that the assessor's office had attached. Like I said, there really wasn't any way that they were paid in order, and the payment yesterday was of $30,000.
So how do you apply that then, just again for public information, because you apply it for the current year's back?
Right, that's the law. It goes the current year, has to be paid first, and then, because if it wasn't, we'd always have tax.
In arrears, yeah.
Right. So that'll bring us to how far back, what years would be left, you know, Katie or Julie? As I looked at the numbers, I couldn't tell for sure.
So where's the payoff? So the payoff would be $10,123.47. So she really didn't pay like even a year off. Oh, yes, she did.
I was going to say it'd have to be a payment of more than 1 year.
So there's some of 14s and then 13s are not.
Some of 14 and 13. Your recommendations?
I would say that we could extend it, but she's gonna have to pay the $350 until the day of the sale. I don't think we should hold it over another year. I don't think we should give her another.
When is the day of the sale again?
It's usually like May 17th.
And the 300 you're mentioning?
The $350, where I think we should still.
It's the administrative fee. Once the list is passed to the clerk's office to perform title work and prep it for sale,
It's
we
still an
tack on an
expense.
administrative fee to handle the mailings and everything
I
else.
just think we should just go as, you know.
So, but you're saying extend it to?
No, I don't think we should extend it.
Oh, you don't think we
Right,
should extend
I don't
it?
think we should extend it, because that would be another year on top of.
Oh, what's there? Okay.
So what you're suggesting is that that if she's going to pay it off, there's sufficient time between now and May 17th.
Right.
Plus the administration fee for the title work and everything else.
If it's paid off before March 1st when it's turned over to my office, then
Right.
there would be no administrative fee.
March 1st?
And we could actually do even the 10th, March 10th on that.
Okay. Thank you. So can you pay that off before the May deadline?
It's going to be a struggle. I am expecting some money. I'm having a property because I'm selling in Utah County in August. I could pay the whole thing off then, or August, without having to borrow more money, which I've already done.
Gotcha. Any other questions or thoughts, Commissioner?
You know, we love to help and work with businesses and everything. At the same time, we have to represent the remaining citizens here in the community. And it is a rough budget year where we need to make sure that we can collect as much as we can for the property taxes, especially those that are in arrears. So I would tend to agree with Kay that we need to perhaps get as much as we can by the deadline.
The May deadline or the?
Well, if we extend it till August, it would actually be an extension for another year.
It would be.
What are your feelings on this?
If we were to do that, I have those same kind of feelings. If we were to extend it with the payment date in August, then, you know, yes, it would extend that. That would mean the rest of 18s would have to be paid also at that point in time. And then if not, I would definitely say that it would need to go up for the sale at that point in time. I'm very hesitant myself to extend it because of the pattern that I see, you know, based on the history there, that it's not just this 5-year period of time, it's multiples of those 5 years. So, you know, the assurance that it'll be taken care of on an annual basis, we don't have a good history of that. So that's my concerns, is, you know, how do we handle those things that are past history, you know, going forward.
It has been paid, those other 5 years have been paid, so I do come through.
But at what point in time do we not see it come through, and then we have extended that?
It
Commissioners, I would just point out that even though we do charge a $350 administrative fee, that really doesn't cover the extent of the cost on something like this in trying to figure out how many parcels are involved, which parcels are involved, calculating the total number.
There's the land, there's different ownerships of trailers, there's...
I do appreciate that the payment has been made always, but I would just point out that really I've seen the work that Seth does preparing for the tax sale and that Kay does and that Julie's involved in, and it really takes a lot of their time to process this and to decide what's going to go up for sale and what's not and what the amount is, and I just think that you should be aware of that it's not as quick a process as it's not just simply a matter of receiving the payment and saying that's that. When people delay, and not just this one, but anybody who delays, there's a lot of work and a lot of involvement. We go back and we do a title search. We make sure we know that we're sending the notice to the right person. Then I double check that notice that goes out. And so for every one of these that that is redeemed just prior to the sale, there's a tremendous amount of work and double checking and making sure that we're not misstepping and making sure that our numbers are completely accurate. So while it is laudable that she's come through and made that payment, the effort and the hassle that it puts everybody through is actually quite extensive. So I just think you ought to be aware of that, because I get sucked in on it. It's not just Seth, it's Julie and it's Kay, and it's a big effort.
Thank you, Christian. I don't have any thoughts or questions at this point in time.
Commissioner, with all the facts and having looked into this and talked, you know, our hearts go out, and we want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, this needs to be a financial decision with the respect to all the citizens of the county. And I'll go ahead and make the motion, regretfully, to deny the request to extend.
So that would mean that would need to be paid in full by prior to the 17th. Is that correct?
Or if prior to the 1st, to avoid the administration cost. Okay. 1st of March.
Okay. I'll step down and second that based on those items. So, all in favor?
Aye. And again, we do that with much regret.
Thank you for being here with us. Our next item is a discussion and possible approval of letter to the Governor's Office of Economic Development for a temporary adjustment to the Rural Fast Track grants. Anybody that was going to speak to that? I can
go ahead.
Take a shot at this one, as there is a temporary opportunity to have the Rural Fast Track grant job wage requirement reduced below the 110%, and it's based upon criteria as outlined by the in a policy for that. And for a county to qualify, they have to meet 2 of the criteria, that being that the county unemployment is more than 2%, which ours is, the county job growth rate is below the state average, and the third one is that the county wage growth is below the state average, and the last one is has experienced a decline as determined by the executive director due to the loss of major employer, an industry sector decline, or other economic distress factors. And so we meet that in the letters coming from GOED, from the Governor's Office of Economic Development, and saying that we can go ahead and send a letter in asking that be changed, which would allow for more businesses, smaller businesses, to receive those fast track grants, because that employment side of that contract would be waived. So there are 2 steps in this process. One is that we have a letter which is attached to our documents explaining to the director, Val Hale, that we meet those criteria. But the second part of that is an adopted resolution. And I don't know that we have a resolution in front of us tonight. Christian, maybe you can help me with that particular part of how we would go forward. The letter to me looks fine, Commissioner. I don't know if you had any other changes or concerns in that, but we do have to have a resolution to go with this request based upon that letter from James Dixon.
Mr. Chair, my thoughts are, I like the letter. I was wondering if we could add to it. And I asked that because of our most recent meeting with the governor to talk about our economic development plan. And I would only add to this letter that in conjunction with our economic development plan, where we've expressed that we need to diversify into manufacturing, into healthcare and other areas, that one of the prohibiting factors of our Rural Fast Track grant previously has been that 110% match, having been with the energy industry skewing the match. I mean, so just to kind of explain how it's been a detriment to us receiving the funding in the past of, you know, with a lot of the coal mining and energy jobs being very high paid jobs and many times up in the six figures, how that has impeded manufacturing jobs, how that has impeded healthcare jobs, how that has impeded other local employers from benefiting from the Rural Fast Track grant. And so that is a bit wordy, but if there's a way to kind of include that, I wonder if that would lead towards us having some type of resolution as well.
So if they do away with this, then it would probably, the temporary period would be for 12 months. And I'm assuming it would reduce that down to the 100% mark instead of the 110. Which
could possibly spur economic growth and provide more eligible employers.
But are you asking that it go beyond that 100%? If they lower it from 110 to 100, what would you put in that letter? What would that request be, whether it was granted or not?
Do we have that flexibility in what's being allowed here?
We really don't, and it's not specified as far as what that temporary adjustment is, other than that it is available in regards to the job wage requirements. So
right, and I think what it does is it just takes that job wage requirement out. Instead of 110 to 100, it just isn't one of the factors, from my understanding.
So maybe just a statement asking that be consideration going forward as far as those things.
Christian, have we confused?
Yeah, you have confused me. I guess my question is, what's our deadline on it? Do we have a deadline by which this has to be in by?
I'm reading the email here.
It doesn't say. The current term of temporary adjustment for Carbon County ends on March 22nd, 2018.
So we probably have
until the 18th.
So we could put a resolution on the next agenda, and also probably ask them to modify the terms of the grant, right? I mean, that's essentially what you're proposing, right, Commissioner Miller?
Well, I believe their policy for the temporary adjustment, it just doesn't state. And so we want some clarification that
I see.
That, you know, what has previously been an impeding factor for people qualifying for a Rural Fast Track grant, that our understanding coincides with their intent. And then our letter that we're writing should probably include our understanding that we've verified with them.
Okay. I'm sure we could get that together the next week and a half or so.
Put that one back. So maybe we want to table this at this point, bring it back on the March 7th.
Sounds good.
Okay.
That'll give me a chance to look at it and talk to them and see what they want.
With that, Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to table until till it's prepared at one of our commission meetings in March, whichever it's ready by.
I'll step down and second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Next item is consideration and possible approval of a waiver of liability form for leasing at the event center.
Commissioners, I was asked to by somebody at the fairgrounds if we could just sign a release document for the NRA, which wants to come and have an event here, it looks like. However, they are asking us that they would like to serve alcohol there and would want us as the alcohol vendor to indemnify them and waive any claims that might be brought against them in the event that there was any liability that arose because of the serving of alcohol at that event. So it's our practice to bring to your attention anytime there's a request that another entity or company wants us to indemnify them, meaning to cover their losses, their attorney fees, any damages that they're assessed with. They always want us, I've always thought it ought to be our policy to bring it to you to consider before that's approved. Have you had a chance to look at that form?
I have, and I don't remember the NRA requesting this in the past or any of our other expo type shows, because we are the licensed alcohol server there in the conventions.
And we are, and our insurance, I believe, would cover these things. I always dislike having to give an additional indemnification, and rather, you know, because we do have insurance that covers incidents out there, but I think I don't like these because then you know, it essentially places no limits on any liability that could be brought against us on these things. So
well, and I find it strange because they themselves would have their own insurance policy that should cover any liability on their behalf, even though it's us that's serving the alcohol.
And I don't, obviously we don't want to chase off business, so to speak, but I do have some concerns with what this one is asking for. But again, looking for clarification from what you know about the event and also from a legal standpoint.
And I don't know anything about the event. I just think generally it's a bad policy. Generally, I think the best thing for us to do is to indicate that we do have a general liability policy that covers attendees coming to the to our events out there.
So Christian, a possible response on our behalf might be that this release or waiver is redundant and unneeded because it's already a provision with our own insurance that stuff like that is covered.
Mm-hmm.
Who should we have respond to this if I know there hasn't been a motion made, but should we respond on a legal basis or from an event center basis? Or
I would recommend a legal basis to start with. You know, I think we ought to indicate to them it's not a matter of us not wanting them to come to the event, but that we've got legal concerns about this.
For sure. Anyway, I'd go ahead and make the motion that we have you, Christian, respond on our behalf, just mentioning that it's a unneeded form because of what our insurance already covers, and that there's no need for the signature on something that's already covered.
I'll go ahead and step down and second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Next item is consideration and possible approval of request to extend payment period for delinquent property taxes, Gordon Creek LLC. Okay. There's been a bunch of these tonight.
So Mr. Evans couldn't be here. They live in Canada, and he had sent the letter. I don't know if you want me to read it or if you've already read it.
I don't know if we need to read it.
I don't think you need to read it in.
Okay.
No, if somebody
Thank
wants
you.
to summarize, somebody ought to summarize what he proposes, but I don't think there's no need to read it in word for word.
They will pay. They have not got any of their, received any of their tax notices. I just got in touch with them probably a month ago about it, and they're offering some other jobs that they're going to put into Gordon Creek next year. He said he will pay some by the end of the month, which I have not received yet. But I've spoken with the State Tax Commission. It's personal property, so we don't know exactly what we could get out of it. We don't know what's under, if the county would be liable to clean up what's left if we sell it at tax sale or if it came back to the county. He said he would get it caught up by next year. I feel like we need to give them a chance. Like I said, he has not received any documents up until probably a month ago.
When you say he hasn't received any documents until a month ago,
Right,
he was otherwise unaware
Right, that it was even delinquent.
because of his status in Canada.
And we had some bad addresses. I actually think he, was in partners with someone else at that time, and so it all came back, all the nails came back.
Did mention that they've been through a corporate restructuring and now it's his responsibility. This is from Rupert Evans, who's the president and CEO. The other thing that I think is different every one of these is that you never know, but again, this is an energy company, so you don't know, again, like you said, what there might be cleanup wise. Also indicating that they anticipated drilling 8 new wells in the Gordon Creek area, and so that's where the extra jobs and services and spending in our community would be. So those things weigh into it differently than some of the others that we've looked at tonight. I know it's not a primary residence, but it is certainly a business opportunity, and I would take the same position on this one going forward, that if we say we'll extend it a year, if it's not cleaned up, then we probably need to do the investigation and see what potential hazard there is and move forward with it and not put it off again.
Right, that's what I would suggest on this one.
That would be your recommendation too, then?
Yes.
Have you been out to that property, you or Julie, or?
We haven't. I had Melissa look it up. We wasn't quite sure where it was, and we could only find the one. I believe it is out by Consumers. I'm not positive. I was going to get with her and see if maybe Daniel, some of us could go out and look at it. I don't.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know what is actually there at this point.
Right.
Because
it's a gathering. It's Gordon Creek LLC gathering.
So they're a gas company.
Right.
So do they have a pump structure?
I believe they do. I think it's working. I could have, one time I pulled it up on GIS and I thought I seen the well there, or the gathering, whatever it is, but I can't pull it up now, so I don't know if I was dreaming or if it really was there, but yeah, and I believe it is actually working right now too.
So, okay, what's the, assuming we follow your recommendation, we give them 1 more year, what's the likelihood of us giving them 1 more year and them spending that year removing all the personal property so that at the end of it, we have nothing?
Right, and that's something also that we'd have to take into consideration. I don't know where it's not assessed as personal property that we can tag it. I don't think that's an option.
Mm-hmm.
or could we, Julie? Because we have tagged other personal property.
Well, where the state assesses that, I've talked to Paul Bredhauer, he's the director of centrally assessed. He said that he could come down and take KI on a tour of it, see what is all there, and if it's not being used, then they'll go back to the Dogum and they'll have them
Pay us what they have put on their,
like have them close it back up, and then we can take the bond as a county to pay the taxes.
That makes sense.
So that's our recourse if.
So we do have that bonded recourse then.
I don't think, did he say how much the bond was?
He didn't.
Because that would give you an idea as to the value.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But they have to submit their stuff to the state tax commission by June 1st, when centrally assessed, so he said he would come out about the middle of June, get that tour, see what's all out there.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes me feel a little bit more comfortable in making the motion to go ahead and extend for 1 year.
I'll go ahead and step down and second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you for your work on that. And I guess we need a motion to...
Motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned. Thank you.